Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, again sponsored by Old Dominion Realty. We thank you for joining us again today for our special webinar and for those webinars in the past that you've joined us with. We encourage you to send any of your questions to mail@odrva.com for any past webinars or for today's special webinar as well. Hello, I'm Pam Estes with Old Dominion Realty, and I have been with my firm for 27 years working out of the South Main office. Again, joining me this month is Renee Whitmore, who works at our Crossroads office. Welcome, Renee.
Thanks, Pam.
And also joining us is Natalie Campbell, which works out of our Fishersville office in Augusta County. Thanks, Natalie, for being here.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Renee, let's talk a little bit about what our hopes are for 2015 local real estate market. What are you seeing?
Well, I'll tell you what, Pam, I have had a tremendous amount of emails and phone calls from current homeowners asking about putting their house on the market, you know, what they need to do to get their house ready to sell, and what a good time frame to list their home would be. And with those numbers of phone calls and emails coming in, I feel like 2015 is going to be off to a really good start.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I know, Renee, you and I have had webinars in the past, one of them locally that talked or focused on sellers putting their house on the market and what they need to do to prepare to do that. So I encourage you to go back to our webinar tab on our home site and pull up the past webinars. Also buyers, Renee, we have both talked about receiving our emails from local lenders and how low the interest rates are.
Yes, lower than I've seen them probably all year.
Absolutely, really. Yeah, very low, very low. So contact your local real estate agent or your local mortgage lender and inquire about the rates. They are phenomenal. Again, we're going to be joined by Natalie Campbell, and our webinar today is on real estate careers. And so I'm going to turn the program over to Renee, and let's get started.
Thanks, Pam. So everybody has a story. You know, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate agent, everyone has a story of how they got involved in the business that they work in. I know for me, I started working as an assistant for a couple of summers while I was in college, and it was just a natural progression, and I was really encouraged by those agents to take my licensing course and sit for the exam, and basically the Tuesday after I graduated from JMU, I sat for my exam and became a licensed real estate agent. So Pam, what's your story about how you got into the real estate business?
Well, I'm a people person, and I enjoy working with people and servicing people. And so I came to a crossroads in my life, Renee, that I had to decide which way am I going to go. Maybe insurance, which was of interest to me, or maybe real estate. And I kind of sided with real estate just because I'm interested in homes. Yeah. And so that's how I got into it.
Definitely. Now, Natalie, what got you into the real estate business?
Well, Mom has been a realtor for 30-some years, and so I basically grew up with real estate, you know, going on showings and hearing one side of the phone call. So I said I would never be a realtor.
Yeah.
You know, I'd heard enough of it. And one day after college, Mom said, why don't you come back and be my assistant? I need some help on the computer, some office stuff. And 13 years later, I love it. I love my job, and I can't believe I said I would never do it.
Yeah, so. She suckered you in, and you're still there.
She did. She did.
That's fantastic. Well, so we've talked about kind of, you know, our reasons, our story for getting into the real estate market. Natalie, if there's someone else out there who has their own story of why they want to get into the real estate market, tell them what direction they can go in, how we can help them to get started.
Well, I get phone calls on a daily basis, and usually what I tell people is the first thing you need to do is to take the class. Yeah. And it's the Principles of Real Estate class. They offer it online, and they offer a classroom setting, and we have a class opening up soon in April.
And that's a class that you actually are the instructor for.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got that coming up in April. How long does that course that you teach, how long does that last?
It's about 4 weeks, 2 nights a week from 5:30 to 9:30.
Okay, so if someone has a regular day job, a 9 to 5, they would not be interfering with their job to take the course.
Right, and we keep a huge pot of coffee on.
Very good.
You know, we know they worked all day, and then they're coming into the classroom.
Yeah.
Natalie, is that held in your Fishersville office?
The one, sometimes we do it in Harrisonburg. My last 2 have been up here. But yes, we're going to do Fishersville this time.
Sounds great.
Cool. What can those students that come to your in-person class, what can they expect to learn or to get out of the class?
Well, the Practicals of Real Estate course actually teaches the laws, the regulations, the terminology. What it doesn't teach is practical forms of real estate, getting the showings, the listings, and writing the contracts.
Okay, so they're basically just going to learn laws, regulations, like you said, terminology, and then it's up to them once they pass that class, pass that exam, to get that practical knowledge out on their own. Very good. Are there any restrictions or prerequisites to becoming a real estate agent or getting licensed?
Well, right now, the only restrictions are that you're 18 years old, you need to have a high school diploma or GED, and then when you actually pass the test, there's a state board test, and when you pass that test, they do fingerprinting and run, so no felonies.
Yeah, so like some background checks and that sort of
Yes.
thing. Okay. And then you mentioned that there are online versions of the class as well. What do you see as the benefits of taking the class in person versus online?
Well, I think it depends on how you learn. I personally need that classroom setting. I need to hear it. As I teach the course, I also give examples and tell stories from personal experience. And so I hope that they can apply that terminology to the experience or to that story. They can go back and remember, oh yeah, that was about the refrigerator. And so I hope that it helps them remember. Some people learn online, and that's great. I'm not one of those people. So
probably has a lot to do with their timing too. If there's an in-person class that's actually being held as well. But I'm with you. I learn from an in-person, in-class setting because those experiences and stories really do help a lot when you're learning different applications.
And within the class, people ask questions, and they're good questions, and I think it's good that they all hear the answer. And
And they always say that there's no stupid question. So if you're getting a question, it might be something that I might be a little afraid to ask, but Pam, she might say, it's not a stupid question to me, and she asks it, and it benefits me as well. So I'm a big proponent of in classroom. If someone were to want to sign up for, if they've decided that real estate's a career that they want to pursue, how do they go about signing up for this in-person class that you teach?
Well, Mosley actually offers the class, so you can call their 800 number, or you can go onto our website, which is odrva.com.
Yeah, and I think if you scroll to the bottom of the page, there's probably like an icon there, a link to link you to the Mosley class, and you can choose yours. Or they can probably give us a call at the office, and we can walk them through that as well. So let's say that we are a new agent. We've taken Natalie's course, and we've passed our state and local and national licensing courses. Now what do? We have to find a company to work for. What are some of the recommendations that you tell your folks in class of what to look for in a real estate company?
In the state of Virginia, you do have to have an active real estate license. You have to be with a company or a brokerage firm. So I always tell people that you need to interview with different companies to make sure that you have the right fit. Every company has a different business model, and you need to make sure that the way you want to run your business coincides with theirs. People usually ask, what do we look for in a company? I think it's very important that you look for a company that provides some education. Old Dominion's been great about providing education and helping you in that next step, how to write a contract. And Pam is our educator for Old Dominion and does a great job.
Well, thank you. Yes, I do in-class training. Once we have taken on a new agent or have hired a new agent, I do classroom training, and then that training can last for up to 24 months of practical real estate training. As I'm doing that, we have Renee who does mentorships, and mentorship is a daily hold your hand process. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Renee?
It's one of the things that I encourage new agents to do is find a real estate agent who's experienced and is willing to put their time towards helping them better their career. So basically shadowing an agent who's experienced, asking questions, letting them review your contracts, going along on showings and closings, and helping them write contracts or review your contracts when you write them. So it's basically just like having a big brother or a big sister there to help you and hold your hand and basically teach you how to do the business. And it's really important to learn from them because you're seeing it from a very practical standpoint. You've learned everything, all the laws and regulations in Natalie's course. You've learned the contract with you in your training course, but then there's always that practical putting it to practice, putting everything that you've learned into practice. So
that's right.
It's really important to have that continuing education throughout our career, but especially in those first 2 to 4 years of your real estate career. It's super important to really get all that training. And something else that I would tell folks to look for when they're looking at companies is the culture, because the culture is so important. You have to make sure that you mesh well with not only the broker and the staff folks, but also the other real estate agents, because you're going to be learning from them for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years that you're selling real estate. Right. You're definitely going to make sure that culture is really good, and that they're offering you the tools that you need,
Yes.
and the technologies that you need in order to do your career. So I think it's really important to look at all those things when you're looking at different companies. So something else that I know I get questions about all the time, Natalie, and I'm sure that you do too when folks are calling in, is compensation. How do I get paid, or what do I get paid? What's the biggest thing that you see?
Well, it's one of the first questions I get asked when people call and ask about the class is, what is your salary? So once I finish laughing and gather myself, I let them know that we're just commission based.
Yeah.
So, you don't know when you're going to get a paycheck.
Yeah. So another really big thing for folks who are considering a career in real estate, one of the things that they might want to really focus on is the financial aspect
Yes.
of becoming a real estate agent. Making sure that they have that savings in place. It's not like they're going to be getting a paycheck in 2 weeks or
Right.
a month. Depending upon how that first couple of months of your real estate career goes, it could be 6 months or so before you get paid.
And there are some fees. Every association, and to become a realtor, every association has fees.
Yeah.
And so there's some things that you'll pay out initially.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good discussion for new agents to have with their broker is, what are the fees that we're expected to pay? How do I go about paying those, and figuring out that with their broker, because it is going to be kind of more of an individual basis and a broker basis
Yes.
of how those things are paid and that sort of thing. So, there's also time commitments involved in any career that you have. But I know my friends and family say, "Oh, you've got a flexible career. You can kind of come and go as you please." And as true as that can be on one end of the coin, I think the other side of that coin is that my career and my flexibility is based upon other people's time availability as well. We talked about that earlier, didn't we, Pam?
Absolutely, Renee. I know I have a lot of friends and relatives say to me, what time do you have to be at the office, and what time can you leave the office? Well, it depends on my workload.
Yeah.
So there are times that I'm there at 6 in the morning, and there are times that I'm there till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
There are times that I'm there Monday through Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a demanding job.
That kind of brings me to, we all have our own story of how we got into the business, but then there's the flip side of that of why we've stayed in the business. I know I'm probably the junior here of this group with 10 years under my belt, and we've got Pam here with 27, and I think you mentioned 13 years. That's still a long time to be in the same career. So, what's the reasoning behind staying in? And I know for me, my reason is getting to meet new people, and that every day is not the same. It's always an adventure, I think, and you always encounter new people and new issues and new solutions and a lot of really new things. Pam, what keeps you in the business?
I think serving people and helping them with one of the largest, if not the largest investment that they'll make within their lifetime. The other thing is, I think being a mother. I've always said that I was always able to put my daughter on the bus and take her off. If she was sick, I was home. Did not miss one ball game. So I think that was one of the main reasons was I have stayed in the business as long as I have.
Yeah.
How about you, Natalie?
Well, I agree with all of what you're saying. I'm the same way, and that's part of the reason I stay in the business. The other part for me is I love being my own boss. I'm the one that determines how much money I make that year, and I'm the one that determines if I better myself in my education. And I really enjoy being able to move up because I chose to take those classes.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, thank you, Natalie, so much for
thanks.
joining us. We
Thanks for
appreciate you
having me.
driving from Fishersville to meet with us and share your expertise very much. And again, when is your class being offered?
We start in April from 5:30 to 9:30 on Monday and Wednesday nights.
And they can contact you by phone or go to the website?
The easiest way is to go to the website, to odrva.com. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, Mosley has a little icon down there, and you can click on it, and you can even pay there. The book usually ships to you within 2 days.
Wonderful, wonderful. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we look forward, Renee, we were talking about our next webinar in February. This will be exciting. It is real estate and technology, and we're going to be joined by our IT lady, Jessie Phillips, who works out of our South Main office, and really looked forward to the things that she brings and helps us with as agents as well as buyers sellers, Renee. So thank you again for attending. If you have questions, please visit mail or email us at mail@odrva.com, and we look forward to seeing you in February. Thank you so much.